Okay, in this video, I'm going to open up the Create Cross-Section tool and dissect all the parts that go along with it, and maybe hopefully give you a better understanding of what's going on. In this project I have behind here, the Road 1, Route 63 project that we've used for about everything these days, I'm going to take Road 1 and go through the tool and show you all the features with it. You can see right now I've got a complete design. I have my existing ground out here. I also have a corridor, as you can see by the green tick marks. I also have template drops in there by this purple magenta type of line. So all my template drops are in here. And I can see that there is also a super elevation section created. And I can see that by this line here. So everything's been referenced in and ready to go. So I got my cross section 3D file attached, and I have my complete corridor design referenced in, and that's all that's in here is that referenced in. And then with the nesting depth of 1, it brings across our super elevations, our existing 10, everything comes across just the way we want. Okay, so that's all set up and ready to go. So we're at a point where we're ready to create cross sections, and I'm going to open up the tool and start dissecting it for you. Under the task bars, where we want to drill down to is the corridor modeling set of tools, and about 3/4 of the way down you'll see all these little cross-section looking icons. The one I'm looking for is the Create Cross-Section tool, so that's the second one on the toolbar, and I'll go ahead and click that. When I bring my cursor out to my screen, it's got a heads-up prompt asking me to locate the alignment. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to come out and pick the alignment, the one I'm going to work with. And you can see as I hover over the super elevation shapes, you can see that it finds that alignment below it and highlights it. So it tells me it's a complex element, Road 1, and the feature is a MoDOT baseline proposed with an active profile of Road 1 PR proposed. So that's the information I want. That's the alignment I want. So I'm going to left click, and that's going to open up my cross-section tool. So I click it. It takes a couple seconds to process, but it opens up my Create Cross-Section dialog. Now, one of the first things that you need to do when creating cross-sections is open up the Preferences dialog. Okay? So down here at the bottom, we'll open up the Preferences, and you'll see that with MoDOT we have a few preferences. We have a sheet of 5, 10, and 20, which will actually create MoDOT borders and place our cross-sections in those sheets. We also have a stacked with a grid and axis, so that you actually can go in there and have a grid and axis to work with, kind of get an idea where your cross sections are at. Or we have a stacked cross section only, which represents the old geopack, just cross sections with cells on them. So that's out there. I'm going to go ahead and open up the sheet 10 scale and load it, and we'll go through all the little leaves on the toolbar. So I'm going to hit load. That's going to show me at the bottom that the preference sheet 10 scale has been loaded. So the MoDOT 10 scale has been loaded. Now I can simply just close this dialog. One thing to note is that it tells me in this dialog what the scale I'm using, okay, which preference I chose. When I close out of this, I don't get that in the banner, and I don't get it on the tool anywhere. So it doesn't tell me. So if I want to know, if I'm doing stuff, going back and forth between sheets and stuff, and I want to know what this is set at, all I have to do is go to Preferences, and it'll tell me down here at the bottom. Okay. The most important part is when you open up the cross-section tool, is to load a preference, depending upon what you want to do. I'm going to do some 10 scale sheets, so I'm going to hit close here. It's loaded, and we'll start on the first leaf. We're in the General tab on the left. And we're talking about the horizontal alignment, which we chose, and that was the Road 1. If you wanted to change it to a different alignment, you can simply click this button, go out and pick Route 63 if you wanted to, or whatever other alignment you wanted. Another little note to take is you can only create cross sections in the default model, meaning that if I cut a cross section, if I go through this whole dialog, I set everything up and I hit apply, what's going to happen is it's going to create a microstation model, and it's a cross-section model, and it's going to dump us into that. If I'm in that and I decided I don't like my cross sections and I want to run them again, I cannot run them from that model. I have to come back into this default model, which brings me back to this design, and then run it from here. That's just a little note to take. Okay, so just a note, just to understand what that does. So we could do a single station from this dialog just by toggling on this switch and pick whichever station we want to cut a single cross section from. You can also do a stop station. Like options are in here. The left and right offset, when we pick our sheet, our preference sheets, these are already predefined to give us the maximum width for plotting. So that's all set up at minus 140 and 140 to the positive, left and right. And then the interval is how far you want to drop your cross sections. So you got that. And we usually display them in view 1. The layout, by the preference, whatever you choose preference wise, is going to go. So we pick the sheet, it's going to give a sheet. If we would have picked one of them other preferences, would have stacked, this would be stacked. Okay, but right now we're picking sheet, and that's where it goes. Model name. What this is going to do is it populates this road 1 into this field, and it's going to create a model. When I cut my cross sections, it's going to come out here and create a new model. Okay, it's a cross section model is what it's called, and it's going to have a different color background, a little dark gray, not quite black. But that's what it's looking for, the name of that model that you're going to call it. Okay, right now we have a default 3D. It will be called a road 1. The scale's already set up and predefined by what we chose. Okay, so that's all good to go. All this stuff set up. The only thing you really have to manipulate, maybe your start and stop stations, be about it, and maybe your intervals. But we're going to go with a 1 vertical exaggeration. We're not going to exaggerate at all. So that brings me to the next leaf, and that's the custom leaf. And the big thing about the custom leaf is it allows you to do different types. Okay, and we can do cross sections that can be extracted that represent a station range, a perpendicular, or even a skewed. And a really good one is a line string. We got a pattern shape or patterns file out there that you can actually put a line string in and follow that line string if you choose this. Okay, so and when you choose those different options, you get your start and stops, and you get your intervals and your left and rights, whatever you want to set up on this. Okay, and since these are more custom type selections, it leaves the user to do about anything he wants to do, or she. The next leaf is spacing. Let me go back a little bit here. Let me go back to custom and talk a little bit more. Okay, so station range allows you to extract multiple cross sections spanning the station range. Perpendicular will be perpendicular from the project, from the line, from the center line. Skewed, we can extract them off of extract cross sections that are skewed to the alignment or graphics. And then finally, again, that line string allows you to extract a cross section that is along the path of a line string. Okay, so that's the better definitions in all of them. After the settings has been selected, you're going to see the add button is lit up. So all you do is add it to this, and it's going to go from here. It's going to use this. And another thing is that if you pick a station range or anything through here, it's going to override that general tab. So this information overrides the first one. So that's a custom settings. Okay, spacing. At the top we have the selections per column. How many sections do we want to see per column? And we've been going with 20 before, and we're going to stick with 20, so 20 is what it is. On our horizontal distance, and that's talking about from this point to this point, we're going from right to left, and we're giving them 100 foot or 100 unit spacing here. On the vertical spacing, we're using a top to bottom, just like the little icon says here, or the little graphic show. And we're giving it a distance of 15. Now there's a window clearance option here, and you may be interested in this if you're cutting cross sections and you want to give yourself some more room between your cross sections. You can come here and apply a top and bottom clearance to it, and then cut them and look at them and see if that's what you want, and you can tweak this number. Right now it's set to nothing, there's no clearance on there, but you can come in here and apply it, maybe turn it on, and maybe give it 5 extra feet, or or 2 extra feet for the top and bottom. And you can see in the example over here what it's going to do. It's going to give us some space here and here before the next cell, the next cross-section cell is placed. And the last option on this leaf is a direction. We've been building our cross-section from the bottom to the top, and we're going to continue to do so. So we always do that bottom left, and go 20 up, and then go to the next column on the right, and go on. Okay, so that's our spacing. There's some custom spacing also, not just a general tab, but under custom. We align our edges to the left. That's what we use, okay? We don't use a specified offset. So that's already set up. You shouldn't have to mess with that. That brings us to the next leaf, and this is the control leaf. And this is something else that you probably shouldn't want to mess with too much, because what this controls is our grid work, okay? What we're going to see as far as our grid. Our major horizontal grid. If I come over here, you're going to see on the right, and this is really bad about this tool. I don't like it. Hopefully they can fix it in the future, but what you get to look at in this dialog is just a little box or a little portal into what you want to see. I don't know why this can't be expanded out so you can see every bit of piece of information here instead of having these scroll bars. It seems like there's plenty of room in this dialog, but it's been turned over to Bentley so they can do something with it, but we'll see how that goes. But to edit these, I'm only showing you because just I want to totally go through this dialog with you. But to edit this, you just simply double click on it. Okay, so we open this line symbology dialog just to show you that things have already been set up. We got the level, color, weight, everything's already predefined for you. Same with the minor horizontal grid. It's already been set up, so you can double click and see. The one thing I learned about is do not give it a symbology name. You give it a symbology name, it throws everything else off. So we'll just leave it like it is, the defaults the way they are. After the grid, and that does all your grid work. Any type of grid work that you do out there, it's good to go. Plan display. Do we want to see our cross sections in plan? We can actually turn this on and place it out there. Critical sections. Do we want to see our critical section? You can see they're on as a default because we like to see our critical sections as well. And then symbols and details, we don't use this. Don't use this yet, so we're not using a symbol or cell, and we're not using the project-wise title block. So that brings us to the next leaf, which is the axis leaf. And what this controls is under the when you open up a leaf, you get the one below it. So we're looking at the left general leaf. So as you can see, what it's going to do is it's going to ask you for how you want your tick marks. Position both sides, inside on the minors, spacing 5, majors 4. All this stuff's already predefined. Symbology, but you can see by the symbology, the only thing I'm looking for in this one is a label on the left. So there's not really any ticks or any kind of title stuff that I'm using. All I'm doing is placing a piece of text out on the left side, and you'll see that when we run them. Same with the bottom. I could go through the general, and it does the same thing, but when I go to the symbology, what I'm doing here at the bottom of our axis, and what you're talking about is bottom of the cell, you're going to see a title, text, and a label. Okay, and then when we got the right, I go to symbology, there's just a label on the right that we're using. The top, under symbology, I have nothing's going on under that one. The middle, we have nothing going on there. So we're not using the top and the middle for placing any kind of axis text. Now the most important part of this cross-section sheets is this last leaf. It's called sheet. Under the border, what we're doing is we're going out and we're picking a reference file. And the reference file that we're actually using is a project-wise reference file. You're going to see it out there, and it happens to be the mo.de 2008.dg. And so we're taking our border file and referencing it in and using that. Okay, so that's what we use. If you're doing just a stacked option, it will be on shape. So it's just placing a shape out there for your border. Okay, but when we're cutting sheets, we want to see that title block out there, and it will be defaulted to our project-wise location to get the latest and greatest title block as it's been updated. Under orientation, we have it as landscape, and sheet size is set to custom, and this fits everything within that title block perfectly. And I'd like to actually have this word gray out everything and just go with the custom. I don't want to see you come in here and tweak this, it's going to throw your sheets off big time. Okay, so that's basically all the leaves in a nutshell. And again, if you have any questions about anything dealing with cross sections, you can always hit the title, the border, or the banner of it, and hit the F2 key. It's going to bring us out to the Bentley help files, and from there you can locate and navigate and drill down to find what we're looking for. Under corridor modeling, let's see, it would be civil geometry, or you can go search, type in cross section, list of topics, and it'll open up create cross section. So here it is. We've got it here. This will give us all the information. What I like to do after that is go back to the content. No, it don't look like it's going to do that. It don't look like my help's working as well as the one that we have in the office. But you can go through here and it'll describe every single bit of what I just talked about, and even into greater detail. Create cross sections. I think now, yep, there. Now it'll open up down to create cross sections. So you can see corridor cross sections. I was in the right area, corridor modeling, and then locate down, and you get all the information that you want to see. Our overview, our cross sections view, how to create them, annotate, end area volumes. Everything's in here as far as help goes. We take and create videos and make them more towards MoDOT's way of doing things. So that's the way I do it. So that's the help. We'll close out of that. Go back to the tool. Everything's set up the way I want it. I'm going to go to the general tab though, and I'm not going to run all 35 plus 10 stations. I'm just going to go about the 15 plus 00 just to get me a bunch of cross sections to look at. So once you have the information all filled out the way you want, all you have to do is hit the apply button. And then it's going to go out with the information that we filled out in the dialog. It's going to create our cross sections. And you can see there's a border already showing up in the background. And when the dialog pops back into view, we're finished. Okay? So we're good. I'm done with the tool. But anyway, I'm finished with my cross section, so I'm going to go ahead and close out. And then I'm going to zoom in and look at some of these cross sections. And you can see we've got our end conditions, got the sidewalk on this template, we got our components, got our end conditions on the other side. So it's doing exactly what we want. Now here's the part we're talking about with axis, the information that we got. The stuff on the left is our elevation. We have our station offsets on the bottom. We have the title of what station it is, station 1 plus 00. Region 1, and you can see on the right side we also have some text over here for the elevation so that you can kind of get an idea be further down the cross section. Okay, if we wanted to change, we could remember about giving that spacing in between the cross sections. We can come out there and this will move the next one up and so on and so forth. so we got more room in here for our cross sections. Some of them will look pretty crowded, some of them will look just fine. That's pretty much everything to do with cutting cross sections and going through all the leaves to a T. Again, the help file is your friend, so just click on the dialog banner and hit the F2 key, and up comes your Power Geopack help, and you're good to go.